The girl who couldn't walk. Celia sat near the edge of her balcony, her purple eyes watching the flying ships pass over the glowing skies of Varnax. The wind gently moved her silver hair, but her body didn't move. Her legs, thin, lifeless, and forgotten, had not taken a single step in over 10 years. She was born in the upper towers of Varnax, a city built among the stars, high above the dusty alien world below. At age 5, Celia had been caught in a gravity shift storm, a rare and violent event. She was rescued, but the damage to her spine was permanent. No healer, no machine, and no alien tech could fix her body. Since that day, she lived her life, in a hover chair, moving only when the chair allowed her to. Most of the time she didn't leave her room. She hated the stares, the whispers, the pity. On this planet, disabled people were not seen as equals. Many were sent to care colonies, or given work in the lower levels far from public view. Her family, proud and noble, refused to send her away. But even their love couldn't stop the silent pain she carried. Every morning she would roll her chair to the balcony and just watch. Ships, lights, free people walking and flying wherever they wanted. She imagined herself running through the streets, dancing, even jumping from tower to tower. But when she looked down at her legs, that dream always died. Then, one day, something strange happened. A repair crew arrived in the area. There had been damage to a nearby energy bridge, and many engineers came to fix it. Celia wasn't interested at first. They were just more faces, more tools, more noise. But then she saw him. He didn't look like the others. He was taller. His clothes were strange, made of dark brown leather with metal parts sticking out from his back and arms. His skin was pale. His hair was black. His eyes were sharp, but kind. A human. Celia had heard stories about humans. Rough, wild, brave, sometimes dangerous. Most aliens kept their distance, but something about this one made her stare. He worked fast, moving like someone who had done this 1,000 times. He used strange tools, things she had never seen before. She leaned forward in her chair, curious. At that moment, the man looked up. Their eyes met. Celia quickly looked away, her heart suddenly pounding. Why did he look at her like that? Like she wasn't broken? Like she was a person? The next day, he was back again, working alone this time. He walked closer to her building, carrying a heavy toolkit on one shoulder. Celia tried to ignore him, but when she rolled her chair back from the balcony, she saw him still watching her. "Hey," he called out, raising a hand. "You okay up there?" Celia blinked, unsure if he was talking to her. No one ever asked if she was okay. "I'm fine," she answered softly, her voice barely reaching him. "You don't look fine," he said with a smile. "You look bored." She frowned. "You're very rude." "I get that a lot," he replied, laughing. "Name's Drake. I fix broken things." Celia felt a strange flutter in her chest. "I'm not a thing," he tilted his head. "Didn't say you were. But you look like someone who's waiting to be fixed." Celia didn't reply. She turned her chair and went back inside. Her cheeks were burning. No one had ever spoken to her like that, like she wasn't fragile or broken or sad. That night she couldn't sleep. His voice echoed in her head. "I fix broken things." Was he just trying to be funny? Or did he mean it? The next morning, Celia left her room and made her way, slowly, to the city plaza. Something she hadn't done in months. Her hover chair floated down the ramps and into the open space where workers were still finishing repairs. She saw him again. Drake. He was welding something with a bright tool that glowed like fire. When he saw her, he waved. "I didn't think you'd come down," he said. "I didn't think I would either," she replied. He sat beside her on a crate. "So, Celia, you ever want to walk again?" She laughed bitterly. "You think you're the first to ask me that? Doctors tried, machines failed, there is no cure." "I'm not offering a cure," Drake said. opening his toolkit. Inside were glowing wires, tiny circuits, and a pair of strange-looking metal rods. "I'm offering a choice." Zelia looked at the parts. Her hands trembled. "What are those?" "Old Earth tech. Illegal on this planet. But powerful. I've built robotic limbs for soldiers, gave a man back his arms, helped a woman climb mountains again." She shook her head. "Even if that works, I'm not a soldier." "No," Drake said softly. "You're someone who deserves to live. Really live." Zelia stared at him in silence, and for the first time in over 10 years she felt something deep inside her awaken. Zelia wasn't supposed to leave her tower. Her parents had warned her. The city wasn't kind to someone like her, especially not now with a human walking around like he belonged. But something pulled her back to the plaza the next day. She told herself it was curiosity, that she just wanted to see his tools again. Maybe how he worked, but deep down she knew the truth. She wanted to see him again. The plaza was crowded. Varnak citizens with bright skin and floating cloaks buzzed around like insects. Machines hummed. Drones flew overhead. But in the center of it all, the human knelt beside a massive power cable, his hands deep in the broken wires. Zelia stopped, at the edge of the crowd. Her hover chair made a soft whir as it floated forward. He didn't see her at first. But when he stood and wiped sweat from his forehead, his eyes locked onto hers like they had been waiting. "Hey, Wheels," he said, grinning. "Back so soon?" She blinked. "Wheels?" He chuckled. "You don't like nicknames?" "No," she said, trying not to smile. "But I'll allow it. For now." Drake stepped forward and crouched beside her chair. Up close, Zelia could see the tiny scars across his knuckles and something even stranger. His hands weren't fully human. They were metal under the skin. Not cold, but alive. "You have machines inside you," she whispered. "Yeah," he said, opening and closing his fist. "Got caught in a mining collapse when I was 17. Doctor said I'd lose my arms. But my mentor, he rebuilt me, bit by bit." Zelia's eyes went wide. "You weren't born like this?" "Nope. I was just like you once. Powerless. But I learned one thing. If the world breaks you, you don't have to stay broken." His words hit deep, like lightning in her chest. Then he pulled a small box from his tool bag and opened it. Inside were two small, thin metallic pieces shaped like curved bones. Glowing lines ran through them like veins. "These," Drake said, "are part of a walking frame, designed to connect with damaged nervous systems. Illegal here, but tested and working. Back on Earth." Zelia couldn't breathe for a second. "You brought them for me?" He smiled. "No. I brought them in case I found someone strong enough to use them." She stared at them, then at him. Her voice was barely a whisper. "I haven't walked in 10 years. "I know," he replied, "but I think you're ready." Silence passed between them. She could hear her own heartbeat. Zelia looked down at her legs, thin, pale, still, then back at the human with scars on his metal hands and hope in his voice. "Why are you helping me?" she asked. "Because when I saw you," he said softly, "I didn't see someone broken. I saw someone waiting to fight back." That night, Zelia didn't sleep. She sat in her room staring at the stars through her window. In her lap rested the two glowing rods he gave her. They pulsed gently, like they were alive, like they were waiting. Her mother knocked once and entered. "You went outside today," she said. Zelia nodded. "I met a human." Her mother frowned. "Be careful. Humans can be reckless." Zelia smiled for the first time in days. "Yes, that's what I like about them." The next morning, Zelia rolled her chair to the edge of the city, an old building where few people went anymore. Drake was already inside, working at a table. Sparks flew, metal clinked. It smelled like oil and burning wires. "You came," he said. "I brought something too," she replied, holding up the rods. Drake grinned. "Let's get to work." He laid her down on a flat platform and adjusted the sensors on her back. The chair hovered silently beside them, watching like a loyal pet. "I'm scared," Zelia admitted. Drake nodded. "Good. That means you're alive." Then he pressed the activator. Pain, like fire, shot through her legs as the rods connected. Her back arched, her eyes filled with tears. It hurt more than anything she'd ever known, but she didn't scream, because deep inside she felt something even stronger than pain. Power. As her body shook, her fingers gripped the table. And for the first time in a decade, she felt her toes move. Zelia lay on the cold platform in the hidden workshop, her chest rising and falling slowly. Her eyes were wide with shock. Sweat ran down her forehead, and her lips trembled, not from fear, but from something she hadn't felt in over 10 years. Sensation. Her legs. They weren't just metal. They were alive. She could feel vibrations. She could feel weight. For the first time, she felt connected to her body again, and that terrified her more than the pain. Drake stood silently beside her, watching. He had seen soldiers cry. He had seen warriors scream as their new limbs fused into their bones. But Zelia didn't scream. She just stared at her feet like she was meeting them for the first time. "Try to move your toes," he said softly. Her eyes narrowed. She focused. And then, they moved. 1, then 2, then all 5. The toes of her new robotic legs curled like they had always belonged to her. Zelia gasped. I did it." Drake smiled. "No, we did it." He helped her sit up. Her whole body ached. Even the small shift in her back sent pain through her spine, but she didn't care. She looked down at the shiny limbs, slender but strong, shaped like a perfect mix of alien design and human technology. "These don't look like Varnak's tech," Zelia said. "They aren't," Drake replied. "They're from Earth, but not just from Earth. From a place your council fears." Zelia raised an eyebrow. "Why would they fear this?" Drake walked to a locker and opened it. Inside were old tools, books, and a black box with a red handprint on top. He took it out gently and placed it on the table. "This," he said, "is forbidden." He opened the box. Inside were tiny glowing chips and a cracked photo of a man, with a cybernetic arm and a smiling child beside him. Zelia leaned forward. The tech looked ancient, older than anything she had ever seen, but somehow more advanced than what existed now. "That man," Drake said, pointing to the photo, "was my teacher. He disappeared years ago when Earth shut down its independent labs. This was his life's work. He believed no one should stay broken, no matter what planet, what species, or what law said otherwise." Zelia touched one of the chips. "Why? Would anyone ban this because if everyone could walk, if everyone could fight back, the powerful would lose control?" Zelia's face darkened. She understood now. It wasn't that healing tech didn't exist. It was just hidden. Buried. Forbidden. The galaxy didn't want miracles. It wanted silence. "You're breaking the law to help me," she whispered. Drake didn't answer at first. Then he looked her in the eyes. "I've broken worse laws to help people who deserved a chance. You? You're worth every risk." Her heart pounded. No one had ever said something like that to her, not even her own family. She had been treated like glass, easy to break, hard to fix. But this human saw her as fire, not fragile, but dangerous. Hours passed. Drake showed her how to stand. It wasn't easy. The first time she fell forward. He caught her before her face hit the floor. The second time, her legs twitched too fast and she stumbled into a table. But on the third try, she stood, shaking, sweating, trembling, but standing. Zelia laughed. It wasn't a soft laugh. It was wild and free, like thunder breaking the air. Silence. "I'm tall," she said in shock, looking at Drake from eye level. "I forgot how tall I was." He chuckled. "You're actually a little taller than me now." She smirked. "Good." But their joy was short-lived. Outside the workshop, a quiet sound echoed like the buzzing of flies. Drake froze. He turned off the lights and pulled Zelia down behind a crate. "What's happening?" she whispered. "Council drones," he said. "Surveillance types. Someone reported strange energy use in this district. If they find us, they'll arrest you and me." Zelia's eyes went wide. "But I just got my legs." Drake gently placed a finger to her lips. Shh. Not a sound. The drones hovered past the windows, scanning the area. Their blue lights sliced through the dust and dark, like lasers. Zelia held her breath. Her heart thudded loudly in her chest. The drones stopped. One turned toward the window. Zelia felt cold all over. But then, they moved on. Drake waited 5 minutes before standing. "Close call," he said. "Too close." Zelia stood too, still shaking. "They'll come again, won't they?" "Yes," Drake replied. "And next time they won't just scan. They'll take you away, disable the legs, erase what we've done." She clenched her fists. "Then we have to leave." Drake looked at her with surprise. "You sure?" She nodded. "I didn't wait 10 years just to sit again." Zelia had always dreamed of walking, but she never imagined it would feel like dying and being reborn at the same time. Her new legs didn't obey her like real ones. They were strong. Too strong. Each step felt like she was trying to control a wild beast inside her own body. And every mistake came with sharp jolts of pain that ran up her spine like fire ants. On the first day of training, she fell. Not once, but 9 times. By the 10th fall, her arms were shaking and her knees were bruised even through the metal. The implants were working, but her brain wasn't ready. Her balance was off. Her muscles had forgotten what walking felt like. "I can't do this," she whispered, lying on the workshop floor. Drake stood nearby, watching. He didn't rush to pick her up this time. He just crossed his arms and waited. "You done?" he asked. Zelia blinked. "What? You done feeling sorry for yourself?" Her lips trembled. It hurts. It's too much." Drake knelt beside her. "You spent 10 years in a chair, dreaming about this moment. Don't you dare. Give up now." Zelia looked at her robotic legs, burning, shaking, twitching, her eyes filled with tears. "You don't understand," she said. "I was just a girl when I lost everything. And now I feel like I'm failing again." Drake nodded. "You think I got these hands because I succeeded the first time?" He held up his metal palms, turning them over. "They were rebuilt after. I failed to save my best friend. I crawled out of a collapsed mine with no arms and a guilt that nearly killed me. These hands are my second chance. Just like those legs are yours." Zelia sat in silence. Then she took a deep breath and stood, wobbling, shaking. But she stood. The next week was brutal. Drake became her trainer, her guard, her only friend. Every morning, they met in the lower tunnels, far from the city's cameras. He marked lines on the wall, distances she had to walk. He set timers. He built low hurdles. He even made her carry heavy tools while walking. Zelia cursed him more times than she could count. But each day she fell less. Each night, her muscles screamed louder, and each morning, she returned stronger. On the 7th day, Zelia climbed a staircase. It was slow. It was ugly. But she reached the top without help. She raised her arms, laughing with tears running down her cheeks. Drake just gave a nod. "Took you long enough." Zelia smiled and punched his arm. "You're the worst coach ever, yet you're still here," he said. But just as she was catching her breath, a loud clang echoed through the workshop. Drake spun around, his hand reaching for a small energy pistol hidden in his belt. A drone. It wasn't a surveillance unit. This time, it was a military enforcer. The drone hovered outside the cracked window, scanning the room. Zelia panicked and backed up, her legs nearly locking. A red light blinked on the drone's sensor. "Target found." "Run!" Drake shouted, grabbing her hand. She hesitated. Her mind froze. She had only just learned to walk. How could she possibly? Run? Drake didn't wait. He pulled her down the back hall as a flash beam blasted through the wall behind them. Sparks flew. Pipes burst. The drone fired again, missing by inches. Xylia stumbled, but her legs caught her. They were learning, adjusting to her panic, responding faster than her thoughts. She turned and ran, not perfectly, not fast, but for the first time in her life, she ran on her own legs. They made it to an old cargo tunnel where Drake slammed the door shut behind them. He locked it with an old Earth code pad. Xylia leaned against the wall, gasping for air. Her hands were shaking. Her legs were twitching. But she was alive. "You ran," Drake said, his voice filled with disbelief. "You actually ran." "I didn't think I could," she said between breaths. "But my legs," they responded, like they wanted to survive. Drake looked her straight in the eyes. "That's because you do." That night, while hiding in an abandoned train car, Xylia lay with a blanket over her and wires plugged into her legs to recharge. The metal purred quietly like a heartbeat. She turned to Drake, who was sitting across from her, fixing a broken tool. "Why do you keep helping me?" she asked. He looked up. "You're the first person I've seen in years who didn't run. From pain. You ran through it." Xylia didn't reply right away, then she smiled. "Then tomorrow," she said, "we run faster." The rising suns of Varnax bathed the city in gold as crowds filled the Skybridge Plaza. It was the week of the Unity Festival, when species from across the stars gathered to celebrate peace. But today, the crowd gathered for something else entirely. Not a parade, not a speech, but a girl with silver hair and metal legs, walking for the first time through a city that had once hidden her away. Xylia adjusted her coat and stared at the long walkway in front of her. Her legs whirred softly, alive beneath her skin. She had practiced in secret for weeks, training, falling, rising again, but this would be the first time the world would see her walk. Drake stood beside her, arms crossed, face unreadable. "You sure about this?" he asked. "No," she replied, her voice calm. "But I'm tired of hiding." People had whispered about her for years. Now they would watch. She stepped forward. Her boots touched the polished metal path, once, then again. A strange silence fell over the plaza. Conversations paused. Music faded. Even the wind seemed to wait. 1 step. 2. 3. Xylia's face was firm, but inside her heart raced like thunder. Every pair of eyes burned into her like lasers. She saw shock, pity, wonder, and something new. Fear. Because in a city that had abandoned its weak, a girl who was supposed to stay broken had become something stronger. Whispers began. "Is that Xylia? The paralyzed girl? She's walking. Is that legal? Those legs, what is that tech?" Suddenly 2 armored enforcers appeared at the far end of the plaza. Their suits gleamed under the suns, and they carried EMP staves, capable of disabling any tech in seconds. One of them pointed directly at her. "You there, stop immediately, that modification is unauthorized." Drake tensed and moved to stand in front of her, but Xylia touched his arm. "No," she said, "let them come." The enforcers approached fast, and the crowd pulled back, forming a circle around them. Everyone watched. No one spoke. One enforcer raised his weapon. "By order of the Varnax Council, you are using illegal Earth cybernetics. Prepare to be taken in for deactivation." Xylia didn't flinch. "You've ignored me for 10 years, left me to rot in a chair, and now you want to deactivate my right to stand? You're a danger," the other snapped. "That tech is unstable." "No," Xylia said firmly. "You are unstable. You fear what you cannot control." The first enforcer stepped closer, lifting the EMP device, but Xylia moved faster. She didn't attack. She stood her ground. The robotic limbs hummed with energy, locking into defense mode. A faint shield pulse shimmered around her legs. Earth, tech protecting its host. "I'm not here to fight," she said. "I'm here to be seen, and if you try to stop me now, you won't be turning off a machine." You'll be silencing every soul who ever wished to rise again." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Some began recording. Others whispered angrily. The enforcers hesitated. Behind them, council observers in long robes appeared, watching from a distance. One of them gave a silent hand signal, "Stand down." The enforcers stepped back. Zelia took another step forward, passing between them. Her walk became a march. Her march became a message. And her message became a spark. That evening, across Varnax's networks, footage spread of the girl who walked against the law. People in care colonies wept. Veterans without limbs watched in silence. Young children clapped at screens. A quiet voice became a loud echo across the stars. Back in the shadows of the workshop, Zelia collapsed into Drake's arms. Her legs locked not from damage but from exhaustion. "You did it," he whispered. "No," she breathed. "We did." He helped her sit, then plugged her legs into the recharge unit. "I've never seen anyone stand up to the council like that," he said. "I didn't stand up to them," she said with a tired smile. "I just stood. And sometimes, that's enough." But in the high towers of the council building, a different conversation was happening. "She's become a symbol," one official said. "If we don't control this, others will rise too." Another added, "Perhaps we underestimated the human and the girl." The head counselor narrowed his eyes. "Then let's see how far she's willing to walk before we break her again." Night fell over Varnax like a dark wave, swallowing its glowing towers in a sea of neon shadows. Most citizens celebrated the Unity Festival below. Firelights danced across the sky. Laughter echoed through the streets, but Zelia wasn't celebrating. She was running. Not from her past this time, from soldiers, from silence breakers, from those who feared what she had become. It started with a whisper, a coded message from a hidden contact in the Varnax underground. "Council enforcers are coming for the human. They want his tech, and they want you off the streets. Forever." Zelia and Drake packed what little they had. He shut down the workshop's power. She recharged her legs and tightened the fasteners. There was no time to ask questions, no time to argue, only time to run. "Where are we going?" Zelia asked, her voice sharp as the wind. "Old launch tubes below Sector 12, Drake replied. "It's where the smugglers escape, not on any public map." Zelia nodded, her legs already moving with trained grace. Each step echoed in the steel corridors like a war drum. Her heart pounded, not from fear, but from something stronger. Survival. They reached the second-tier bridge when it happened. A sudden boom shook the ground. Red lights flashed overhead. An explosion, Drake cursed. "They've blocked the main route." Ahead, 4 council enforcers appeared, armed with plasma staffs and sonic hammers. One pointed at her. "Target acquired. Disable her legs. Bring the human in alive." Zelia narrowed her eyes. "You want to deactivate me? You'll have to catch me first." She leapt from the bridge rail, straight into the air. Her legs, synced with Earth's recoil boosters, activated mid-fall. She flew. For 3 heartbeats, she soared across the empty shaft between buildings. Her feet hit the next platform hard, metal sparking on metal, but she didn't fall. She ran. Drake followed with his own jetpack, slower but steady. Below them, alarms wailed. The city had turned against them. Zelia's new legs adapted to the uneven metal terrain. Her speed doubled. She weaved through pipes, across tight corridors, through dark maintenance tunnels. But with each jump and dodge, her legs heated up. Not just warm, overheating. "We can't keep this up," Zelia shouted, struggling to control her pace. "The cores are burning." Drake reached into his satchel, pulling out a small glowing device. "Emergency cooler module. But it's unstable. If I install it while you're running, it could melt the power lines in your legs." She looked at him, eyes blazing. "Do it." Drake didn't argue. They ducked into a side tunnel. She braced against the wall. He opened, the back panel of her left thigh, hands shaking. Sparks flew. The internal system screamed. Time was running out. Almost. There. He whispered. A crashing sound echoed from behind them. The enforcers were on their trail. "Drake!" Zelia yelled. He slammed the module into place. Blue steam hissed out from her legs, and then silence, followed by a pulse. The system restarted, faster, stronger, cooler. Zelia clenched her fists. "Let's finish this." The two burst from the tunnel just as the exit gate came into view, a giant rusted launch door marked with ancient warning signs, but a shockwave hit them from behind. Drake fell hard. One of the enforcers had fired a tether bolt, wrapping around his legs. Zelia skidded to a stop. Her mind screamed, "Keep running," but her heart said otherwise. She turned back. We're supposed to go," Drake shouted. She walked toward him, eyes locked on the enforcer, aiming a second shot. "No one gets left behind," she said coldly. The enforcer fired. Zelia jumped between the bolt and Drake. It hit her square in the chest, crackling with EMP energy. For a moment, the world spun. Her legs twitched violently, then stabilized. Her human-made legs, unlike alien models, absorbed the blast, converted it, and redirected it back. A shockwave burst from her boots, sending the enforcer flying into the wall. Drake stared in disbelief. "You're insane," he whispered. "Maybe," Zelia replied, smiling. "But you built me that way." Together they reached the launch gate. It opened with a roar. Beyond it was darkness, a tunnel leading deep into the starport's bones, beyond law, beyond light, beyond fear. Zelia looked back one last time. The city that once ignored her, now hunted her, but she no longer walked its streets with shame. She had turned her first walk into a march, her march into a revolution, and now she was ready to run toward something greater. The starport's launch tunnels were cold and silent. Long abandoned and half-lit, they felt like the bones of a dead world. Each step Zelia took echoed off the rusted walls, each one a reminder that she no longer rolled or watched from windows. Now, she walked. She and Drake had been in hiding for days. No connection to the outside, no signals, just darkness, training, repairs, and hope. Zelia sat on a metal crate, adjusting her legs. Her fingers moved quickly now, understanding the tech, like it was part of her. Drake handed her a small energy capsule. "The coolant system's stable now," he said. "You could probably outrun a patrol ship if you wanted." Zelia smirked. "Good, because I'm not done running yet." Suddenly, a quiet beeping came from Drake's tablet. A signal. Weak, but real. He tapped the screen. Static buzzed. Then, a voice. "This is Varnak City Broadcast. We interrupt your program for an urgent message." Zelia and Drake stared at the screen as a newsfeed flickered into view. A familiar image appeared. Zelia standing in the Skybridge Plaza, facing down armed enforcers with glowing legs and fire in her eyes. The girl with the illegal limbs has become a symbol of rebellion. Across 3 colonies, others have begun demanding access to Earth-based healing tech. The Council refuses, calling her actions dangerous, but not everyone agrees. The screen cut to a shaky video of a veteran with missing arms saying, "If that girl can walk again, then maybe I can hold my daughter again." Then another, a young alien child crying, "I want legs like her." Zelia's hands trembled as she watched. Drake placed a hand on her shoulder. "You lit the match, and now the fire's spreading." She turned toward him. "So what do we do next?" He smiled. "We give them more than hope." Later that night, Zelia walked to the launch platform alone. The stars above stretched across the sky like rivers of fire. Below her feet, the earth tech in her legs hummed. She stood tall, no longer hiding, no longer weak, no longer broken. Just. Then a soft chime echoed through the chamber. A door hissed open. Drake entered, holding a small black case. "What is that?" she asked. "An invitation," he said. He opened the case. Inside was a silver band, a communicator styled in ancient Earth design, but more than that, it was official. A message came from the Free Systems Alliance, Drake said. They want to meet you, hear your story, offer protection, maybe even partnership. Zelia was stunned. Me? But I'm just… No. Drake cut in. You're not just anything anymore. The next morning, Zelia returned to the city, not through secret tunnels, not in hiding. She walked through the front gates. Citizens stopped and stared, but this time they didn't look away. Some bowed. Some reached out to touch her hand. One old alien woman whispered, "You saved us." Zelia walked straight into the council hall, her steps echoing like thunder. Inside, the High Council sat behind their tall glass walls. One spoke. "You come with threats." Zelia shook her head. "No. I come with a truth you can't silence anymore." Another snarled. "You think we'll allow chaos? Let the weak walk like warriors?" Zelia stepped closer, staring them down. "I'm not weak. I'm proof you were wrong." She reached into her pocket and placed the communicator band on the table. "The free systems are watching now. You can't hide your fear behind your rules anymore." Silence. Then a final voice spoke. A counselor who had said nothing until now. "Then walk, Zelia. Walk out of here and know this. Your steps have changed everything." She left the chamber with her head high. Behind her, the halls buzzed with confusion, anger, awe. Outside, a crowd waited. She stepped onto the top, and looked at them all. "I am not your leader," she called out. "I am not your queen. I am just a girl who refused to stay in one place." She lifted her foot. "And now?" She stepped forward. "I will never stop moving." That day became known as the March of the New Dawn. A girl who could not walk had become the face of a movement, and somewhere deep in the stars, another child in another chair saw her and whispered, "If she can do it, so can I."